A common mistake I see a lot of architects and interior designers make is saying, feel free to contact us on, or if you're interested in, and it's very quite passive language. It's kind of like tiptoeing around what you want them to do. You need to be a little bit more explicit and bold and be like, hey, if you've liked what you've read, or, if you've got a project in mind, get in touch here.
Hi there, welcome to a brand new episode of Beyond Interior Design. Thank you for being here. I'm Mark Miskis, your host, and together with Sven van Buren, we're the proud founders of the Institute of Interior Impact. This is where we provide interior designers with the tools and the training they need to take their businesses to new heights. And because interior design is a constantly evolving field that requires innovation, requires fresh ideas and new perspectives. We believe that interior designers possess a unique ability to create spaces that have a lasting impact on people's life. And that's why we are so committed to helping every interior designer to tap into this potential, to empower interior designers to shape this world. So let's get started by asking you the first question. And I want you to be completely honest, not for me, but for you, for yourself. Right now, are you getting the projects you desire and deserve? If that's a no, and by the way, there's always a next level, but if you're not getting the projects you desire and deserve, well, what if I told you there was a way to attract better clients? So that's why I'm so happy to have her in our Beyond Interior Design podcast today. She's a marketing strategist, a copywriter for architects, and founder of Architects Workshop. She helps architects communicate their value so they can get a steady stream of ridiculously good projects. And now she's here, willing to share her powerful copyright secrets. And my suggestion is take a pen and paper, because you are going to learn simple ways to immediately improve your website so you can attract better clients too. Please welcome her, Nikita Morell.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Nikita. Yeah. When I reached out to you and I invited you to be my podcast guest, I know it's a few months already, but do you still remember what you said to me?
Yeah, I think you remind me, because I think I have it. I think I pretty much said no, because I serve architects is what I remember.
Yes.
You have a lot of interior designers as your audience. So yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you told me, and I didn't remember the exact words, but something like, sorry, I'm not going to do this. Your target audience is interior designers and mine is architects. So, but we're so glad we would convince you to join us anyway, because I think interior designers are facing the same issues. We do have the same challenges, and maybe we do talk less about this technical part or so, but we can learn so much from you, Nikita. So again, happy to have you. Yeah. You're a copywriting expert, a marketing strategist. I read you've studied 663 architects' websites.
Yep, that's exactly right. Well done. I think it's been, a couple hundred more since then, but yeah, I think it was over 14 or 15 months just trawling through, trying to find as many websites as I can, and then I made like a video series, I guess, of my findings as well. So yeah.
And well, first of all, why do you do that? Why do you get out of bed every morning to do research on architects' websites?
Well, I just feel, and it's the same with interior designers, I feel like interior designers and architects, they just have so much to give the world. And I feel that, compared to some of the other professions maybe in adjacent fields, they just don't get the recognition they deserve. So I feel like, in all honesty, I don't think I have what it takes to be an interior designer or an architect. And I actually did try and do an interior design diploma just as a hobby and failed miserably. Like, I just don't have that spatial, I don't know how you do it. Anyway, so I thought I'd put my skills, which are writing and marketing and copywriting, into, channel it into helping architects. And even though I do outwardly say that I just service architects, I definitely have a lot of clients as well that are interior designers, but just my marketing strategy and outward is, for architects.
Yeah, well, that's already a good first lesson. Pick your target audience. So I knew you would say it to me, like, hey, I'm just serving architects, because you are very clear in who your target audience is. So we can learn from that as well already. Well, let's get back to your research. What is it that you find out?
Yeah, oh my goodness, I found out so much, I think. And, I did this a couple of years, and in fairness, things have come, even in just 2 years, things have come a fair way in terms of websites. But I guess the biggest thing was a lot of firms just come to me and they say, well, we don't need a website. We've got all our clients coming through word of mouth. So we don't have time to work on our website, or it's not a priority for us. And while, it's great if you're just getting clients through the door through word of mouth, I think times have changed. We live in a Google-driven world. Someone mentions you, refers you, the first thing you do is kind of on your phone or on your laptop, whatever, just Google their name. So I think, if you've got multiple tabs open of just different interior design firms that you're researching, someone's got a strong website with a strong message, beautiful images, it just is another way to build trust and that kind of emotional connection even before you've met them. So one definite thing was that this idea that websites are not necessary in this field, which I think is changing. Yeah.
So yeah, you told me why it is so important to have a strong message, but I can imagine, and we speak to a lot of interior designers on a daily basis, like, okay, yeah, I know I need a strong message, and you want to be unique, you want to be special, you want to share your secret powers, like you're an interior design, you want to create impact, but well, you might think like, hey, what is my unique power? What is my specialty? So in order to have a beautifully designed website, maybe you could do that with beautiful projects, but your message is lacking. How do you find out what is your special message or secret power? How do you call it?
Well, there is a way. Well, I call it an X factor. So I think your X factor is the one thing that you're known for, or that you stand for. I think I like to say, yes, the one thing that you stand for. So you can stand out, as you just said, with your visuals and your imagery and your, tone of voice, so the way you sound. But you can stand out, but you have to stand for something. So that X factor, it doesn't have to be a target client or a type of interior design or style, or it can be so many things. It can be your design philosophy, or your X factor can be, that you're really strong in one part of the process, or that, you're inspired by a certain thing. So it is really broad, but it is about just picking one thing and sticking to it. And it is scary, but you don't have to stick to it your whole, the whole term of your business. You can pivot it at certain points, but it is, picking one thing and creating a really strong association between your firm and your ideal clients. So when they think of your firm, they think, oh yeah, that's the firm that does XYZ, or oh yeah, they're really good at XYZ.
Yeah, and that's why your advice is pick just one thing, because then you have only one story in your head, or one connection with your firm. Yeah. I told you said like it can be inspiration too. So if you are really inspired by, for example, nature, that could be your X factor.
Exactly. Or art, or artists, or travel, whatever it is. It's just like, we get inspiration from different cultures and we weave that into our interior design philosophy, or whatever it is. But you're right, it can be anything. And that's why that kind of passion behind what your X factor is quite important. Yeah, because it's, I can imagine if it's fully attached to kind of emotions,
Because if you are so passionate and you can't stop talking about it, that will do the job for you, right? If you have to search for something that is really deep somewhere in your business and you don't know what it is and you're really trying to find it, you're in your head, then it doesn't work, right? So it should be something that's on the surface in your life, in your business, or?
Yeah, and I think, look, so I worked with hundreds of practices now, and every single practice has a different X factor. So I think it's not so much as identifying, but more uncovering. So it exists. You have one, everyone has an X factor. It's just like, how do we uncover that? So I think that's the key thing, really, is uncovering it. And
how? That's the next question. How do we do that?
Good question. So look, there are lots of ways, and I've got a whole article on how architects can find their X factor in less than 5 minutes. And I do say, 3 things is passion, as I just mentioned, proficiency. So what are you good at? What are the skills? As well as profit potential. You want to make sure that you're running a business so that there's a market for whatever you have. So it's kind of those 3 things. But I guess the problem that a lot of architects and interior designers run into is that they're very close to their own firm. If you've been working on these projects, it's very hard. It's, that saying, you can't read the label when you're inside the jar. You need to step out, you need to be looking at it. And I guess that's where businesses and, institutes like yours and, other marketing experts and stuff, that's where it helps to really get some external help. To see that strategic side of things.
Yeah. You know what I find out, and that's funny, and it's quite logical actually. When you go back to why you started your business in the first place, there's the key. It's the same with the Institute, where right now, almost 3 years further with the initial idea. But when we go back, and it was so hard for us to see why are we doing all this? What is it what makes us tick? Why do we get out of bed every morning? Why do we want to help all those interior designers? How do we see the interior design world? And the answer was in the very, very first beginning with the initial idea why we thought, hey, we would like to see a change in some areas. And but it's hard if you are a few years in your business. Like you said with the phrase, you can't read your label on the jar if you are inside the bottle. Yeah, that's impossible. So yeah, reach out to other people who have a clear view, kind of helicopter view on your business, asking the right questions probably. Yeah, and they've got the frame. Like what you do with your interior designers, you've got that framework in place that people can follow, and it's tried and tested. So. Yeah, but I do love to see your article on that one. Let's share it on our website, on your page. We will prepare a landing page for you. It's instituteofinteriorimpact.com/Nikita, and we will put it out there. All right, with the link. Yeah, I'm curious to that. Yeah. So well, then we come to the very to the main part, because we are talking about website copywriting. Well, we all do want projects. We all do have projects on our bucket list. That's everybody's talking about that. Well, I wish I could do a holiday home or a boutique hotel, or that's one of the a vacation holiday rental, something in this area. Most interior designers are dreaming about that. I think boutique hotel is the #1. So how do we start to attract those kind of clients with your website? Yeah, so one thing I will just start with, because just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, is like when it comes to website copywriting is very different from design writing or design journalism or just, wordsmithing. Copywriting really is underpinned by marketing, psychology and sales. So a lot of it is selling. So copywriting is really, in a nutshell, is about writing in a way that you get other people, hopefully your ideal clients, to take some sort of action. So with your website, it's almost like you've got to see it like, a bit of a teaser.
is that the whole point of your website is really to get someone, and that someone being your ideal client. And when I say ideal client, I mean the type of client you really want to work with, to pick up the phone or to perhaps send an email form, or you really need to think, what is it that you want someone to do after they've had a quick look at your website? What is it? What are the next steps? So you really, with your messaging, need to be kind of, almost see it like a home, like ushering them through and taking them on that journey until you get them to take that action. So, yeah.
I read in one of your articles in your ebook, I thought it was that we have research showed that we have 10 seconds to grab the attention of the audience.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. So research says that someone will come, land on your homepage, and then they see above the fold, which is kind of everything before you start scrolling. And you've got about 10 seconds for them to decide whether they're going to stay on your website or they're going to hop off and exit. So this is why it's so important to let your ideal client know that they're in the right place. That's where you need to hook them in and say, hey, we've got what you want. And a lot of, I think, interior designers and architects aren't utilizing that kind of, online real estate as well as they could be. But yeah, you really have to think of it from your ideal client's point of view. And you just think about how you visit a website. You've got questions running through your head, right? Like, who are these guys? What do they offer? Have they done projects like mine? Are they expensive? You've got all these questions. So it's up to you in terms of your messaging and your words to answer those questions that are going through their heads. And when you do that, you'll have them nodding along saying, oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, they really know me. And it's almost like you're mind reading, you're reading their minds. So that's the beauty and the magic of copywriting.
Yeah, you need to create a kind of connection with them. Yeah. So you said on the a few cents ago, you said they need to know if you can give them what they want. So what does it mean in terms of because if you have this title or this subtitle in your header? So what is it? Is it a kind of a promise or a philosophy, or what could it be? What's standing there? Not the company name, right? I see that a lot of times, like studio this or architecture firm that. I'm like, okay, you know that already. You're landed on the page.
Yeah, actually, my pet hate is like welcome or like,
yeah, welcome.
What, like, thank you, but just get to the point. But in seriousness, I think that there are a lot of different approaches, and to be honest, I use different approaches depending on the client as to what is above the fold. But as a kind of rule of thumb, I would say I like to have a big headline, and that headline's main purpose is to hook your ideal client in and to really grab them emotionally. Maybe it might be to surprise them, or it's just really for them to just stop and be like, hang on a second. And then, as I said, to hook them in. Then you've got your subtitle, which is answering that question of, am I in the right place? So that's where you say who you are. So, we're residential interior designers. We serve, or we help homeowners do X, Y, Z. So you're really saying who you are, who you serve, and the value that you're adding to projects. So that's a little bit more, some people call it a value proposition. There's lots of different names, unique value proposition or whatever. But I think it's more just kind of like saying, this is what we do and this is who we do it for. And this is the value we add.
So did you know exactly as if it's the I am on the right place? That needs to be the answer. People need to know with only those two lines, they need to know, okay, this is for me. Maybe this is already what I can get from this company to read further. Otherwise, you're already gone.
Exactly. And so if for example, your ideal clients are kind of, maybe they're younger and they have smaller budgets, that's where you might want to say that, not in this exact word, but you might want to imply that you're affordable or that you've got different packages to suit different needs. So you really need to be thinking like, the whole time, like whenever you write any words or any copy, you have to draw it back to that ideal client. And that's why I keep saying ideal client, but you really have to have a really strong understanding of who they are and what they're looking for. And also what their objections are. Like, what might they be saying? Like, oh, I actually don't want to hire an interior designer because I've heard that they railroad your designs and they don't listen to you. And like, what are some of the objections that they have? Because then you can address those objections in your copy.
Yeah. So tell them, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of architect or designer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you really are that kind of designer and architect, right? Don't tell it because only of the marketing. You need to be an authentic message, right?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, that just leads to distrust down the road and a wrong fit. So yeah. Definitely remember.
We do love to talk about our frustrations about the interior design world right now. About that, it seems to be a lot about this dragging beautiful stuff into to our homes or buildings, and it's about the next new shiny objects and all those trends and new colors. And I do hate that because it will attract even more mass consumption, or like there is it's not this higher goal or purpose that we are talking about, and not about this impact. What we do see with the Institute is that people are attracted by that. They want to go on the same mission. So maybe frustration is a good one to talk about, that you want to see the world differently.
Yeah.
At least I can see it works for the conversations, which we do have. Yeah.
Yeah, I think frustrations are good. I guess you've got to be careful, again, how your ideal clients, and if it's relevant to them. Sometimes you're feeling those frustrations, but whether they really care is a different story. Yeah. So for example, like every time I write a website for a client, I always interview 3 to 5 of that client's past clients. So by doing that, I get an objective view on the firm, and I get to see what kind of language those ideal clients are using. Yeah. And that's really important too, is to really take note of the words your clients and phrases your clients are using when they're describing what they want to, or describing their frustrations or their objections, because those words and phrases you then want to weave in to your website messaging as well.
And you are, I think, really vulnerable, right? Because I did this exercise with our clients a few years ago, with our ideal clients, to get to know them really well. And I was so scared. I did it on a phone call, sometimes live. I was so scared to ask them the questions. What we did good, what we did wrong, or what kind of questions do you have in order to get the right answers? What is it that you are asking them?
Yeah, to be honest, it's quite a broad conversation. I think sometimes by having like very specific questions, people feel very pressured to say the right thing. So I always, kind of like it's just, but yeah, I asked them, where were you before you hired, firm XYZ, like what were you struggling with? And then, what was that transformation after working with them? How did your life change? What was it like working with them? So the conversation does take place quite organically, but I think the most important thing is kind of showing point A, like where they were, and then after working with you, like, or the firm, point B, like where they ended up. So like talking about what happened in between, because it's just showing then other ideal clients like, oh, this is what they did for us, the same thing we can do for you as well.
So again, about recognizing the situation, and probably your ideal client will recognize they are in that situation. So probably they see the right match in you again, and you will attract more of those clients. Yeah.
And I always, like, instead of just putting all your projects on your website, it's kind of along the same lines as just put the projects you want more of, if possible, because they're the ones you want to lead with, rather than, putting every single thing you've ever done and the things that, if you want more of something, then really focus on that and, showcase that. Much better to have one beautifully profiled photo on your website than just to have 50, just to say, oh, I've done all this stuff, but it's not aligned with what you want to be doing.
Well, that's good news for interior designers that are starting out, maybe, because they might have one good project or one study or case study or whatever, and you literally tell them it's better to put then that only one good project you want more of them than all those other projects.
That's it. And like, really tell the story. Use your words and images and video to tell the story of that project. So, if possible, get that client testimonial, but really go deep and take that reader or that ideal client on a journey of that project. So by the end of the point, remember I said before, like, what is it that you want them to do? You want them to feel like, wow, I already trust these guys. Have just done such beautiful work. They can do the same for me, and to pick up the phone and inquire.
What is it that the designers or creatives or architects mostly talk about when they show their projects? What is it that you find out in your research?
Oh, some of them most of them actually don't have any words, which is very disappointing. It's just beautiful images, which is fine. But as a copywriter, it's a little bit disheartened when I see that. But I think, I mean, look, it just varies. But again, as a rule of thumb, from my perspective, I think the better project descriptions are the ones that tell a story. And by that, they really talk about the client, what the client wanted, what the client brief was. And using very, conversational language, and then they move into, this is how we responded to the client brief. And this is the results. So, and also they're not afraid to talk about challenges either. Like, these are the things we came across, but this is how we worked around them. So I guess with project descriptions, like, the main thing is to really showcase your firm's design thinking, inspiration, how you respond to when problems arise. Because again, a prospective client reading this is like, okay, wow, they seem like they know what they're doing. They seem credible. I can trust them. So remember, copywriting, it's not a piece that's going to go into a magazine. Copywriting is about people, essentially selling your services and marketing yourself. So it's different.
Yeah, well, some people love to talk about the brands they used in their projects, or the colors they were using, or the shapes, or they give you a kind of interior design lecture almost about their end result. And then I'm always want to know, okay, and why does it look like that? I know how it looks like, and maybe you showed me how you did what you did, but why? So the big why is actually the solution. You take them literally through the whole process. Again, that people will recognize and connect with the story. Like, hey, this could be my future too, that they are showing. Because you told me you like I would like to call it, you are closing the gap. You want to show them, I can close the gap from where you are right now to where you want to be. And this is how it goes. This can be your future environment too. Is that what you're showing? Are you addressing what they can get, or?
Yeah, and I think, see, like a big problem I find with like architects and interior designers is prospective clients might get onto your website and be like, oh no, I don't like that. So like, that firm's not for me. But you've done that project for that client. Every client is different, and most firms, are tailoring, I would say, that their design solutions to each client. Like, it's not just a blanket, like, this is all we just do this on every single project. No. So it is really about saying, like, this is what this client wanted, but whatever you want, it'll look the way, whatever you envision, we can do that as well. So I think it's communicating that, as well as, it's a balance.
So let's get back to the bucket list we all do have. How can you speed up the process of getting your bucket list projects? Let's say you would like to design this boutique hotel. What can you do right now in order to get there? What could be your first next step?
I would, and I guess maybe I'm, again, as a copywriter, probably do it differently than others, but I would just go really hard on that messaging and kind of say, we're designers for boutique hotel owners or whatever it is. And if you don't have those projects to back it up, that's fine. What you need to do is perhaps create, thought pieces, or opinion pieces. So create maybe like a blog, or make sure that your Instagram is very heavy on inspiration, that's drawn from hospitality projects. But it's pretty much just, again, like how I do my business, just like focusing on that one target and just speaking to those ideal clients. So what are boutique hotel owners looking for? What questions do they have? Have an FAQ section on your website and make sure all the questions are tailored to them. And if it does, projects, if that's making you feel uncomfortable because you don't have any in that realm yet, make them up. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but just show sketches or show hypothetical projects or like, I know that
fake it till you make it.
Or, things that you've entered in competitions or renders, like, or AI, like there's so many options these days, like, and, own it. Like, say, maybe, like, I've seen a few websites that are like work, not work, they've got in the navigation bar, and in the not work section, they've just got all their passion projects. And, it's kind of owning it. It's not pretending like, oh yeah, like we've done all these things. It's just saying, look, I mean, you got to start somewhere. You got to get some things under your belt at some point. You can give the resources and add value in different ways than you're building up that trust, I think. And again, it's just one way of doing it.
Yeah, but it sounds great because your passion is involved, all your energy, you're focusing on those kind of projects, you're sharing your vision, you're sharing inspiration, you talk about it, you write about it, maybe you will record videos about it, that everybody, when you have a boutique hotel and you're searching for an interior designer, how easy can it be if you find this new, exciting interior designer who wants to take on your challenge? You don't want this regular or a general boutique hotel designer. You want a new kind of perspective, and you are connecting with this view, this perspective, this belief about how the next boutique hotel should be, right? Then you might have a deal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It reminds me of my first high-end clients. I was living literally in 9 square meters student home. my design office was under my big bed, and somebody he was just Googling and he found me. I was literally 500 meters away from him, so he said, well, but he read something on my website and it was kind of interior design for successful living or something like that, and I shared a kind of intuitive vision about what the beyond interior design thing was. I didn't invent the word beyond interior design that way yet, but it was in 2008. But I shared a vision about what I thought interior design should be like. And he connected with that. He said, although you are a startup, a very young designer, I want to give you the job. And I was like, okay. And then I didn't thought about it anymore. I was like, okay, I was just lucky. But now I cannot ask him again because he died a few years ago. But actually, I had to ask him, what made you feel had to choose for me? Because it was obviously, it could be a big risk for him to do a complete design and construction project with me just as a startup. Quite risky, isn't it?
It is. But I also think, and this is what I think I've posted about this on LinkedIn before, is that people often, they're not hiring according to your credentials, the projects you've done. Like, as you just said, I mean, he probably, and I would say most likely, hired you because you're a nice, likable person. And that's something I think a lot of architects and interior designers often miss, is like they're so focused on like, I've done all these things and I've got all these awards, but it's like, hang on, no one wants to work with a jerk, right? Like, people want to work with nice people. And especially on these projects, it's not like just you've done in a day. It's like sometimes months or years or whatever it is. So you have to be able to also communicate with your words again, your likability and your personality. And I think sometimes that, we're human, like that can weigh in more than the other kind of stuff that we always are putting forward. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But a lot of, and that's in our minds. A lot of interior designers and architects might think, hey, I'm not good enough. I do not have those awards. I'm not on the front cover magazine. I'm not this, I'm not that. But it doesn't mean you don't get the projects you want, right? We are, to be completely honest, we do high-end interior design projects. We were never on the cover page of an interior design magazine. So for us, that's not the case. It's not the truth that you need to be first on a cover page to have to serve those kind of people. And then it's like, do I want to create those kind of projects? That's another thing.
That's it. And you need to always, like, when people say, oh, clients come to me and they say, well, I want to grow my Instagram to be whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Or I want to be on the cover of a magazine, but you have to, again, ask yourself why. Why are you growing these followers? Is it to gain, greater awareness within the industry? Is it to get clients? Because they're two completely different things. So it's always, I guess, going back to that, or even, entering awards. Why are you entering this award? Is it because you want to boost your recognition, get a better reputation, or is it to actually win the, so it goes quite deep, but it's always good to at least just think about these things. Yeah.
Yeah, great. It makes a great sense. Again, we get back to the why. Why do you want that? Yeah? Maybe you feel more confident if you are on the front cover, but I don't think that will really work for the next big project, because then okay, now I have to do it. Now I have to do it. I was on the front cover. People have so much trust and faith in me, and I don't know how to do it. So you get back in your head again. So you need to discover the why for your own, why you want to achieve that. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, and then, well, it's about, it's so much directed with who you are as a designer, as the creative. Hey, you're talking about what's your higher purpose, what's the impact you are going to create, your promise. What is it that you promise your client when they start working with you? So then we go back to the about page. And it always says about us most of the time. But then you have the problem. What is your story about us? Do you need to talk about yourself? Is it all those credentials, awards maybe? What if you don't have those? What's your story on that page?
Yeah, so I guess, it's funny because it is called about, a lot of people call it about us, but really, again, it's kind of flipping it. So it's about you, but it's also about your ideal client. So the way I like to think about it is, instead of saying, we're so amazing, we're this, multidisciplinary studio, and we do this, we do that, you need to flip it. So instead of saying, we're so amazing, you say, your project is going to be so amazing when you work with us. So it's just flipping it to be and reframing it so you're putting the ideal client kind of front and center, but at the same time you're subtly talking about yourself. And this is why, there's a lot of copywriting techniques involved in doing this. Yeah. But the main thing to remember is just to make sure that you're not being very me-centric. So look at your about page, look and count even how many times you've used the word we, us, or I, if you're just doing it first person. And then what you want to do is you want to flip that so that you're using the word you a lot more. So we want to be talking directly to your ideal client. So instead of saying our clients, you want to be saying you, because then you're taking down that wall, between that kind of, metaphorical wall between the reader and yourself. And it really, just that tiny little change can just lead to so much more of an emotional connection and just this feeling of like, oh, they're talking to me, instead of saying, well, our clients are very happy with our services. It's like, well, you will be so happy with us when you work with us, kind of thing. So, yeah. Yeah.
So it's all about them. And it's actually about you, the about you page almost, but that doesn't work in the main menu.
Yeah. No. So for example, you say, we've been in business for 25 years, full stop. That's very me-centric. But if you say, we've been in business for 25 years, so that means we've come across a lot of projects. So, you can feel confident that we will know how to do yours or something. But you follow it up with saying, well, this is a benefit to you because, And
do you tell them on the same page who you would like to work with? Because again, we talked about the passion or vision on the industry, or the interior design, your own vision on your projects. Is that what you share there as well?
Yeah, so on that page you can share, we like to work with people or homeowners, whatever, that respect and value good design, or so you can definitely think about your ideal clients and pull out things that they have in common and call them out. Sometimes people don't like to be that bold. They get scared to do that because they're like, because it's a bit scary saying we like to work with. Another way you can, on your about page, is, writing your values, saying this is what underpins every project, and list 3 to 5 values, or a manifesto, write a little paragraph of what you really believe in. Because the whole point of this about page is to filter out those people that are not a good fit. just as much as it is to attract the right people, you are also filtering out all those people that are there to pinch their pennies, or, you know, don't actually really care about design, or whatever it is that is not a good fit for you. You want to make sure that, because otherwise you're just wasting your time. You know, you might get then 100 inquiries, but half of them are from people you don't want to work with anyway. So it's not affecting your business as well and your time.
Yeah, one of my business coaches told me marketing is a disqualification process. Yes. I was like, hey, normally I think you need to attract as much as people as you can. Eh? A lot of people see it that way. Let's put my message on a billboard and then attracting so many clients, and I can pick anyone I want. But you are really busy then, right? You have a lot to do to filter all your clients. And maybe you find it out already a few months, and you find that it's not the good one.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Features and benefits.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I was just talking about before. I just didn't use exact words, but it's like saying features are facts. So it's just like we've been in business for this many years, we've won this award, or you know, we're especially good at doing X, Y, Z. But then it's following up with the benefit for the client. So it's saying, so this means for you, and then you add in what that benefit is. So it's really just going through, and it's a good exercise to do, just go through your about page, kind of underline all the facts that you've said about yourself, and then, you know, see that if you've written a benefit to the ideal client. And that way it keeps it very balanced as well. All
right. And then another way, it's a kind of personal thing. People that do me really well, they know I love depth. I'm a fan of depth. So I want this in-depth story. But online, we do not spend a lot of time on websites or on articles. So how do you make sure, if you want to share an in-depth story, that people are going to read it? How do you attract those people into your?
Yeah, it's a funny question, because in terms of, like, I guess you can't really make anyone read something. I think what you can do is you can make sure that it is formatted for skimmability, to make sure that, you know, it doesn't look like a lot of text. Because I don't know about you, but when I see like big things, I'm like, I'll read it later.
Yeah.
So that's another great point that you bring up about just making sure that it is good for skimming. And, you know, kind of, I think you need to go in with the mindset that not everyone is going to read everything. Lay it out on the table, make sure that the hierarchy of the page is right. But the thing is if people are interested, they will read it. It's like, I think a good example is David Chipperfield on his website has like 3 options. So for example, on their project description, it's got 3 sentences. Then you can click a plus button and then a paragraph comes up. Then you can click for more information, then a whole like page comes up. So it's like they're giving their ideal client different options, and it can take action depending on how much information they want. So you can do the same. You might have just a few sentences, and then, you know, the website designer have a little plus button where you can click it and more can drop down, but it's just kind of keeping it light on the eye for most of it.
So yeah, that keeps it light on the eye. And if you want more depth, you are in control to get more depth on that. Yeah. That feels always good, right? If we are in control on websites or on articles, that's what we're always looking for, right? We have the feeling people are guiding us through something, and it's almost manipulating, or like, I don't trust this. You want to do your own research. Yeah. And then another thing, we would like to act as professionals. So sometimes I read websites, I do see people's website, and I'm like, okay, you're definitely professional, but I don't get your message. I do understand it because I know this business language, but how do you handle that in those times? Because I think times is shifting. We want, like you said a couple of times, multiple times here, we want this personal connection. We are craving for this personal connections nowadays. So professional and personal, authentic and professional. What's the secret?
Look, I mean, I think that there's different, like, being professional, there's a whole spectrum, right? Like there's no one definition for professional, but I think more than being personal, I think it's more about personality. So I think it's about, they're not mutually exclusive. I think you can have personality and be professional at the same time. I mean, if you go on my website, you can see a picture of me doing the splits, you know, and
so that
I've never had anyone call me like unprofessional before. So I think it's how you can weave in your personality. And I think that, again, it helps with that trust. It helps with that emotional connection, that likability, as we were talking about earlier. The one thing I will note, though, is with professionals, I think you were kind of maybe implying, like, you know, kind of that jargon where you're like, what are you saying? You just got to be careful, you know, that you're not throwing in jargon and terms to either hide behind because you don't really know what you're trying to say. So you just think, if I put all these words in, I'll look a little bit smart. So you need to be mindful of that. But again, you also have to be mindful of your ideal client. So jargon is good if your ideal client has worked with 20, 30, you know, interior designers in the past. Like if they've worked with an interior designer, they've done all these, not worked with 20, 30 interior, but on 20, 30 projects. Then they get the process, they get the jargon, so it's fine to use. So remember, we got to be speaking their language. However, if they've never worked with an interior designer or an architect before and you're just throwing terms at them, then it's like, what are you talking about? So it's really knowing that ideal client, as we've been talking throughout this whole conversation, and knowing their awareness level and the words that they're comfortable with using as well.
Yeah, but I can imagine that it doesn't sound, when you read those languages, it's like those words, it's like, this is not going to be a fun and easy trajectory, right? Yeah, this is going to be very serious. I have to think out really hard. I have to make all kind of difficult choices. They're going to ask me all this kind of technical stuff. That's the first impression, right? That for me as well. It's like, okay, this is not a fun company to work with. Yeah, I don't like that. But maybe you will attract, if you would like to talk about it, you can attract with this, using this kind of language, you can attract those maybe boring, serious, ideal clients, right? Why not? Yeah.
Well, I mean, and everyone's personality is different. You know, some people are more, and that's another good point, is kind of to make sure that your online personality matches with your offline personality. You know, I've dealt with clients in the past who tell me, Nikita, I want a really bold, witty website. I want lots of jokes, you know, and then they say this on email and I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And then we have a Zoom call and I can tell that they're very introverted and they're not the big, bold personality. So you need to match kind of who you are as well. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I do love it more and more. And for me, it is, I experience a lot of freedom when you can be really your authentic you, when you just can tell your own stories. Like the last couple of posts, the stories I'm creating right now is literally I'm writing like I speak. I do love that. I'm not a thinker. I do love to speak. That's why I host a podcast, right? That's why I don't write a book. So I just write like I speak, and that works out really well for me. Yeah, is that a kind of strategy, and is it your personality strategy, or is it just can it be a general strategy to make it easier readable?
Yeah, definitely. Like writing like you speak is good. I guess it's a good way to approach it because it's going to mean that you're a lot more conversational with your words. A good trick I use often is going onto Google Docs and using that voice to type tool. So kind of just speaking at my computer. Sometimes, you know, like a blinking cursor when you sit down to write can make you feel a bit like,
yeah, watching at the screen, like, okay, what's next? Still a blank page? Yeah, type. Right. No, backspace. Yeah, you do have that as a copywriter.
I mean, like we all, yeah, oh my gosh, like so many times. I mean, with copywriting, we always kind of start, again, with our ideal clients. We've always got something, but just especially when it comes to, you know, awkward stuff like writing your own biography or your about page, you just feels weird. So just sometimes talking to your computer, letting that voice to type tool just do its thing, at least then you've got something to start with. And it's in a good kind of conversational tone as well. Yeah,
and then the words are flowing. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, Nikita, you have a lot of insights shared already. Thank you. I secretly put some personal questions inside the podcast. So I was like, oh, wait, how can I do that? How does that work? Or I know it works, but why does it work? So thanks for that. Yeah, and then I know that one. A very important last one is called a CTA, a call to action. That's what most websites lack of, right?
100%.
Yeah.
You've got CTA in there and make it really strong and engaging. So
tell me, what is it? Can you give us, as a last input, some examples about a good CTA for your interior design firm?
Sure. So call to action. I like to have one on every page of the website, and it's pretty much, as I said, it's a good loop of this podcast, because at the start I said you're trying to get someone to take action. So this is your call to action is telling them, okay, this is what I want you to do next. A common mistake I see a lot of architects and interior designers make is saying, feel free to contact us on, or if you're interested in, and it's quite passive language. It's kind of like tiptoeing around what you want them to do. You need to be a little bit more explicit and bold and be like, hey, if you've liked what you've read, or, if you've got a project in mind, get in touch here, or you meet them where they're at. So you might say something like, whether you're bouncing ideas around, or you know exactly what you want, or anything in between, give us a call or get in touch, and then you link that button to your contact page. But you try and meet them where they're at. So if you know your ideal clients are probably not going to really know what they want, you say, hey, even if you don't know what you want yet, give us a call. So it's really trying to, again, get into their head where they're like, how do they know I'm thinking this?
Get into the conversation which is already going on in the mind of your customer. Yeah, that's what Dean Graziosi told me. He's a big sales guy, and that's his line. Get into the conversation of what's already going on in the mind of your customer. So if they are on your contact page, what do they think right now? Yeah, guide them to take the next step. Make them let the next step. So you get to know more about them, and then it will lead you to the deal probably. Yeah, with an awesome client, with a good client.
Exactly, the one that you want.
That's what it's all about, attracting the right clients. You can attract a lot of people with a messy message, but we want the right ones.
I've got a post that actually is scheduled for tomorrow, which it's like, you don't need hundreds of clients, you just need a handful of the right ones. And I think that sums it up. You don't need to have heaps. And I think that's when people start to get followers and be in all the magazines. It's like, what are you doing this for? Like, you only need a handful of really good ones at any given point. So yeah,
I totally agree with that one. We want fewer projects and better ones, not more. Yeah, that makes your life so much easier and more fun, because you are able to work with people who believe what you believe, who think what you believe. They wanted to achieve the same impact, the same results. They are on the same page. Yeah, you can build the most fantastic relationships with your clients if they know upfront that you are the right person for them. But you need to filter them, and it all comes down to your message on your website. Yeah. Wonderful, Nikita. Thank you for sharing your secrets. Although we are interior designers, you shared it with us. Your target audience is architects, but I do really appreciate your time to be here in the Beyond Interior Design podcast. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. So again, we will prepare a wonderful landing page. If you want to know more about Nikita Morell, if you want to connect with her, she's really active on LinkedIn. That's why how we find her, how we followed her for such a long time. So go to www.instituteofinteriorimpact.com/Nikita, and you can connect with her further. We will put her free downloads over there, links with that, with free resources, masterclasses, and she has a free guide with 21 simple ways to immediately improve your website so you can attract better clients. So my advice is download it, check it out because yeah, it literally does what it says. You will immediately improve your website.
Oh,
Thank you, Nikita.
Mark, thank
Keep
you.
in touch. Bye.